Today was our wedding anniversary. 10 years, a full decade. Waking up in the same bed, making each other's morning coffee, arguing about silly things like the toothpaste cap, quiet dinners, the occasional bursts of laughter, and at night, that soft, tired kiss she'd place on my forehead. We didn't have big plans, just a quiet dinner. At that little Italian restaurant where we had our first date. The corner table, wax stains still on it. That table was ours. That morning she handed me an envelope. Just a card, cream-colored, my name written in her handwriting. Her writing hadn't changed. Still elegant, still familiar. I smiled. So you went for a surprise, I thought. You know, we had this no-gift rule. Just us, just dinner. But this card felt different. Maybe she wrote me one of those letters, like she used to before we got married. I figured I'd miss that. I opened it. First line, to my husband, on our anniversary. And then, my eyes caught something else. A second sheet tucked inside the card. Plain, white. No design, no message. Folded, carefully. At first I didn't get it, but when I opened it, it said we were done. Divorce papers. Inside that sweet little card, she had hidden divorce papers, just like tucking money into a birthday card. That was her gift after 10 years. For a few seconds, I didn't say anything. Time just froze. My first instinct, denial. This is a joke, I thought. A weird joke. Maybe she'd pull back and say, "Gotcha," and we'd laugh at how dramatic it was, but she didn't look like someone joking. She was quiet, not angry, not regretful, just calm, as if she had planned this moment carefully. Is this real? Was all I could manage. She didn't even flinch. A soft yes. That was it. Today, I asked. She nodded. It felt poetic. Poetic. To her, our anniversary was the perfect exit. A final act. Curtain call. I looked at the envelope again in my hands. It suddenly felt like it burned to touch. Inside, I screamed, "What did I miss? Where did I go wrong?" I started thinking, last month or last year. Were there signs? Was she distant? Maybe I was too busy, too distracted, too sure that everything was fine. But last week, we laughed. Watching that stupid sitcom, she really laughed. Last Thursday morning, she brought me coffee in bed, kissed me before leaving for yoga. Were those fake? I looked at her signature on the divorce papers. Clear, steady, certain. Meanwhile, my hand could barely hold the pen. I wasn't ready to sign anything. I wasn't ready to end the day like that. I couldn't move. I just sat there, holding the card in one hand, the papers in the other. It felt like someone had cut the floor out from under me. My heart wasn't racing. It was confused, quiet, numb. She got up, calm as ever, and started making coffee. Coffee. As if she hadn't just detonated a bomb on our life. I watched her move around the kitchen like nothing had happened. She even hummed softly. That same tune she used to hum while cooking pasta on Sunday nights. I wanted to scream, not in anger, in disbelief. How long has she been planning this? How many nights did she lay beside me, knowing this was coming? I asked carefully. Can we talk? She didn't turn around. She just said, we can talk tonight, after dinner. Dinner? She still wanted to go to dinner. We can go, but I don't want to talk before that, she added. I want to enjoy one last meal, peacefully. One last meal. That phrase stung, like we were going to a funeral. Maybe we were just not for a person, but for a decade. So I nodded, not because I agreed, but because I didn't know what else to do. The day crawled. I couldn't work, couldn't think. Every little memory popped into my head like fireworks going off in slow motion. Our wedding day. Her smile when we got the keys to our first apartment. That fight we had in year 3, and how we promised to never go to bed angry again. Our trip to Portugal, where she laughed so hard she cried. Was that all a lie? No. I knew her too well. She felt all of that. We were real. So how did we become this? That evening, I put on the same shirt I wore on our first date. Maybe I thought it would change something, or maybe I just wanted to feel like the guy she once loved. When I came out of the bedroom, she was already dressed, elegant, simple. Her favorite black dress, the one she wore to our 5th anniversary. For a second, it felt like any other evening, but that card in my pocket said otherwise. We got in the car. The drive was mostly silent, except for the wind and the radio playing something soft. I wanted to reach out, hold her hand, ask her if she remembered the way we used to sing in the car, but my hand stayed still. When we arrived, the host smiled and said, "Table in the corner, as always." She nodded. I smiled politely, but inside, I was sinking. As we sat down, she looked at me and said, "Thank you for coming." Coming. Like I was a guest at a party I didn't want to attend. I didn't want to end this with yelling, she continued. I didn't want us to remember pain. I wanted peace. Peace. I wasn't feeling peace. I was feeling erased. 10 years of marriage, now packed into a polite goodbye dinner. I didn't even know what to say. So I asked the one question I'd been holding in all day. Why now? She looked at me, not coldly, almost sadly. Because if I waited any longer, I'd change my mind, she said. That sentence shattered me more than anything else. She wasn't leaving because she didn't love me. She was leaving despite loving me. Dinner was quiet at first, too quiet. The kind where forks sound like thunder every time they touch a plate. I kept looking at her. Every now and then she'd meet my eyes. There wasn't anger in hers, no blame, just distance. We talked about safe things, the food, the waiter, even a funny memory from a trip we once took. It was surreal, like we were playing characters in a scene we both knew had to end. She was trying to make it painless, to keep it graceful. But inside me, a storm was gathering. Halfway through the meal, I couldn't take it anymore. I leaned forward, voice low. "Tell me the truth. I said. Is there someone else? She didn't flinch, didn't act surprised. No, she replied softly. There's no one else. I promise. I wanted to believe her. But doubt is a cruel whisper that never leaves once it enters. Then why? I asked. We're not perfect, but we're not broken. She looked down at her plate. I don't feel like myself anymore, Tom, she said. I've spent so long being us that I forgot who I was. That hit me like a punch. I tried to talk about this, remember? She continued. But you were always fixing, solving, explaining. You never really heard me. I was stunned. Was that true? Had I been so focused on keeping things together that I never noticed they were coming apart? She wasn't accusing me. She wasn't bitter. She was just done. I didn't want to do this on our anniversary, she said. But then I thought, maybe it's the only day it would make sense. The day we started. The day we end. That line broke something in me. The rest of dinner passed like a dream. Dessert arrived, her favorite tiramisu, and she didn't touch it. She smiled faintly and said, It's yours. I ordered it for you. Even now, she was thinking of me. We walked out in silence. The night air was cool, crisp. The street lamps cast long shadows as we reached the car. When we got home, she didn't unpack. She didn't linger. She turned to me at the door and whispered, I'll stay at my sister's tonight. I nodded. I couldn't say a word. She stepped forward, reached up, and hugged me. It wasn't passionate. It wasn't long, but it was real. I did love you, she said. I closed my eyes, fighting the weight in my chest. I know, I whispered back. And then she left, just like that. No screaming, no slamming doors, no dramatic scenes, only silence. And me, standing in the hallway with a card in my hand and a heart full of echoes. That night, the silence in our house felt louder than it ever had before. Rooms that once held laughter now echoed with absence. I sat in the living room, still dressed from dinner, holding the anniversary card in my hands. The same card that carried the papers. It was beautiful, ironically. Gold-trimmed, handwritten, with the words, "To many more years," on the front. And inside, the beginning of the end. I reread the words she had written above the documents. I'm sorry it had to be this way, but I believe we both deserve to find happiness again. I didn't cry, not then. I just stared, numb, frozen. The realization crept in slowly. She wasn't coming back. It wasn't a fight. There wouldn't be an argument to fix it. This was the conclusion. I wandered around the house like a ghost. Every photo on the wall told a different story, one where we were still together. I stopped in front of the picture from our wedding day. We looked so young, so sure, so stupidly in love. What happened to them? Had we really changed that much? Or did we just forget how to choose each other? I walked into the kitchen, opened a bottle of wine, the one we were saving for our next big trip. There wasn't going to be one. I poured a glass, then another. The memories began pouring in too. The night she told me she was pregnant and then cried for an hour after the false positive. The way she used to dance barefoot in the living room when it rained. How she always left the window open a crack, even in winter. All those little quirks I once found endearing now felt like knives. I sat on the floor by the couch. My phone buzzed. It was a message from her. Made it to Sarah's, "I'm okay, please don't call tonight." I typed a reply, then deleted it. What could I say that wouldn't sound like begging? Instead, I opened my notes app, and I started writing, not a message to her, a message to myself. You didn't lose her in a moment. You lost her over years, in missed chances, in silence, in pride. I kept writing until my hands ached, until the words turned blurry, and then I slept on the floor. Not because I couldn't make it to bed, but because the bed felt too big without her in it. Morning light came through the blinds like an unwanted guest. I woke up on the floor, stiff and still dressed in yesterday's pain. For a moment, I forgot. Then I saw the card on the table, and I remembered everything. There was no message from her this time. No apology, no explanation, just the space she left behind. I got up, made coffee, and stared out the window. The world kept moving, like nothing had changed. But inside, everything had. I thought about calling her, begging her to reconsider, telling her I could change. But deep down, I knew it was already too late. This wasn't a decision she made overnight. She had probably rehearsed it in her mind 1,000 times, long before she printed those papers, long before she smiled across the dinner table and said, "Happy anniversary." That smile, it wasn't fake. It was final, like a curtain call. I looked around the house. It wasn't just filled with memories. It was filled with things that didn't belong to me anymore. The photo albums, her books, the throw blanket she loved, the perfume that still lingered in the hallway. I spent hours gathering her things, not to be cruel, but because it was the only thing I could do, a way to make the ending feel real. And when I placed the last box by the door, I sat down again. For the first time since she left, I let myself cry. Not just for her, but for the version of me that only existed with her. That night, I opened the notebook again. I didn't write to blame her. I didn't write to forgive her either. I just wrote the truth. I wasn't perfect. I stopped trying. I got comfortable. I took love for granted. And then I wrote the words I hadn't been able to say until now. Maybe this is what I needed, to wake up, to become better, not for her, but for me. I didn't know what would come next. I still don't. But I know this. Sometimes, the most painful endings are just the start of something honest, something real, something we build from the wreckage of what we once had. So this is where I begin again, not as a husband, not as someone's other half, but as myself.